Hey, everybody. This is Made in the 80s, podcast about the 80s by people who were made in the 80s. I'm Shalia, and we have.
Tim.
And Kendon.
Okay, we're into July. Summer is here. And finally, we've gotten to celebrate summer with one of my favorite summer movies, Overboard. We will talk about it in a little bit.
Question: Is it still one of your favorite summer movies?
Yeah.
Okay,
so.
That's fascinating to hear from you. I want to know why. Go ahead. We'll get to it.
Yeah, I think it is. So yeah, we'll get to it. I will put the timestamp in the show notes if you want to jump straight there because we need to connect. First of all, what has happened since we last recorded? What's the 411?
You know what? I've got two things I want to share. Kind of exciting to me. First of all, just about a week ago was the 30th anniversary of, can you guess? Movie.
I don't know. What was it?
Major movie. Huge movie. Terminator 2. Judgment Day.
Terminator 2. Yeah.
So realizing that, that will be my birthday movie this year.
I am surprised because I wouldn't have thought that I was in elementary school in the 80s. But
well, you were, but this movie came out in 1991.
There we go. 30 years ago is in the 90s. There we go. I was like, I remember when it came out, and I didn't think that was the 80s.
It's gonna be a lot to say about this movie.
Yeah, it might be a pretty stuffed episode because also, what is this? The 25th anniversary of the Nintendo 64.
N64, yeah.
So I'll probably share some memories about that.
What was your favorite N64 game?
I mean,
GoldenEye?
GoldenEye 007.
Yeah. GoldenEye was such a fun. It was a game ahead of its time.
It was. There were some other good ones on there, like Ocarina of Time, but I think we can spend more time going into that because we have some special guests for that episode.
No.
Also, an exciting, fun thing is the What If trailer. Have we all seen that?
Seen it.
I haven't.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Well,
what if I had?
What if you had?
What if you could watch the trailer?
A lot of the scenarios for this is an animated Marvel show that'll be on Disney Plus in August.
Yes.
A lot of these scenarios look pretty fun. What if Spider-Man, or say, what if Peter Parker was Hawkeye?
Yeah.
What if Peggy Carter got the super serum instead of I almost called him Chris Evans. Steve Rogers. What else? Oh, and in that case, Steve Rogers gets like a mech suit. So he's still a superhero. But what's really interesting, and I wanted to point out, is what if Yondu from Guardians of the Galaxy kidnapped T'Challa instead of Robert Quill?
Well, Peter
Quill, Star-Lord. And what's interesting there is that Chadwick Boseman actually recorded the voice for T'Challa for this show before he unfortunately passed away. So last canonical, I guess, appearance of him as T'Challa. Do you want to point out any of the other things you saw in there? Did I see a Galactus head?
The Watcher.
The Watcher, but he doesn't look anything like Galactus, so I wouldn't have made that.
Zombies. There's zombies in it.
Zombie Captain America.
Yeah. There's Doctor Strange doing something different. So it'll be fascinating. I'm excited to see it.
So is this? Sorry, I blanked. Is this a TV show series, or is this a movie, or what?
TV show, yeah.
Series. Well, that'll be fun.
And it's based off of comics that were out before, where it was just like, we want to do something different that doesn't necessarily, we're not bound to it becoming part of the real canonical timeline.
That sounds really fun.
He's done it before, like Superman Red Son.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, actually, that's a great example because I brought that up last episode, which is just a what if he was a Soviet instead of an American. Superman.
And Flashpoint has some of that.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, the what if Bruce Wayne's dad was Batman instead of Bruce Wayne?
What if Superman landed in Metropolis instead of Smallville?
Wait, what? How did that turn out different?
He's government property. And they have him underground, so he doesn't have the sun. They know he's an alien, so they keep him in his underground, him and his ship and his underground thing. And so he doesn't have any positive interaction with humans, and he doesn't have any sun.
I use this word with all serious. That's whack.
Yeah. It's good. If you watch
wickety whack.
You can watch Flashpoint Paradox on HBO Max currently. It's good. It's worth a watch.
Is that the one where Superman lands in Metropolis?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, maybe we should check that out. All right. Any
So those are
other
my
news?
411s.
Okay. Tim, you got some 411?
Just one. There's a great Korean film called The Villainous that came out years ago. That's being adapted to a series. Now the movie is crazy. It's a lot of like first person point of view, but she's this Korean girl who thinks she's raised by this American family, but on a trip to Seoul, something happens and she realizes she's part of this kind of like female hit woman squad of like badass women. And
Wait, what's the name of this movie again?
The Villainous.
Didn't we see a trailer of a similar thing?
You may have seen it. It's a crazy film, but I'm glad it's going to be a series because there's so much in the film that I was like, this would be a dope series to sort of like unpack some of the stuff that's happening with these young women and sort of their journey. But yeah, it's good. I'm excited for it. So it's coming to Amazon at some point. That was my news. And also, I saw a thing where, speaking of Captain America, where Dean Cain said that Captain America was too woke.
What? How
Dean
woke
Cain.
is he?
Superman? Superman?
Superman.
What is he?
I mean, yeah,
in what way
Superman's
is
not exactly
Captain
the
America
most
woke?
woke.
It just tells me you haven't read Captain America. He literally punches Nazis. Like that's his thing. That was the creation of the character. Was
Huh.
like he's too. I think they just throw woke around as sort of this negative thing to tag on to things, right? It's become this boogeyman.
Captain America is my favorite.
Yeah.
Out of that initial batch, even past that, and the version of Captain America, or the version of Falcon, who becomes Captain America in the comics, has a sick costume.
Yeah. But also, like Captain America is someone who truly believes in America's ideals.
And that actually gets me. Like that actually gets me on board. Like I feel a little sappy being like, yeah, go USA.
Yeah.
Like the version of Captain America that they try to replace him with in Winter Soldier and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it's very different. Like
Someone who
we're a
believes
different country.
Yeah, we're a different country. Someone who believes in these ideas but is willing to go maybe a little bit too far. Maybe too far.
I wanted to get your opinion on something from that show. I always thought the ability to handle that shield was super serum involved.
You're right.
They show two people who are not super powered who can handle that shield, like throw it, bounce it, catch it.
Yeah.
Like
They just practice.
it kind of heightens it makes it a little more comic booky. It kind of heightens it. And also, like, I had always had kind of I wasn't sure if Hawkeye had superpowers. It just felt like he did, kind of like a Deadshot or a Bullseye
like
sort of
Super Sight or
character.
something, yeah.
But now that I've seen other characters doing that sort of thing, it makes him make more sense, Hawkeye.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, that's it for me.
So, Kendon, there was a movie that Tim sent us a trailer about, and I was just checking our group chat and I'm not finding it, but it's a bunch of women kicking butt.
Yeah.
And you didn't, I don't remember the name of it, but I think that's what you're thinking of.
I am, yeah.
but that's not
I don't
it,
recall the
Villainous.
name of it either.
Gunpowder Milkshake?
That's it, Gunpowder Milkshake.
Okay. That's what it sounded like you were describing.
Yeah.
Okay, so other news that I'm not sure, 401, that I'm not sure we actually talked about, because this is while Kendon wasn't recording with us, and it seems like something he would have been the one to bring up. Have we talked yet about the statement by DC that Batman does not do oral sex?
Yeah, worse than that was
Yeah, it was worse than that.
was that they're taking it out of that Harley Quinn show.
Right, that a
the
hero
worst
doesn't
part.
do
Yeah,
that.
that's what I thought was worse. Shalia, would say that again?
Yeah, that heroes don't do that.
There are amazing memes based off of that. Like, if Batman doesn't go down, what are those handles on the top of his head for?
It's some funny memes, but like it took it out of a show that had so much ridiculous stuff in it that it's weird that that's a bridge too far for them.
This
of all of the shows.
Yeah,
This relates back to a movie Shalia and I watched a long time ago called "This Movie Is Not Yet Rated."
I remember that movie.
Yeah, and it was all about like the MPAA rating system and how does things get rated R versus rated X. And one of them is the giving of female pleasure is something that will get you a rated R or rated X a lot faster than any violence or even male sexual pleasure.
But it's funny because this isn't even like, this is this is DC being like, not even because of a rating for something. This is just in general, don't be confused, people. Heroes don't do that.
Yeah, that
Like,
statement
we're
is
not-
absurd. I mean, we can all agree that Deadpool is a hero, and he absolutely goes
Yeah.
down.
I don't know if we can agree Deadpool's a hero.
He's an anti-hero.
I mean, he's not the best example, I think.
He's an anti-hero, but it's silly. I saw it and laughed. It was like, I was more like, why are you taking this out of the show that anyone who's watched Harley Quinn is like, this is par for the course for that show.
I mean, they literally every episode talk about him fucking bats. Like,
Yeah,
So-
she's like, so is this where you fuck the bats?
I mean, why
That's in the show.
why did you need to remove that? Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
but-
really funny, very funny. So yeah, that was news. It's not the newest, but it is
Did
it was
you watch?
something that I
Did you
realized
watch
we
that
didn't talk
South
about.
Park where they try to explain where COVID came from?
No, yeah, I did see that.
It was him fucking a bat,
Yeah.
yeah, or a pangolin. It was something like that.
Okay, so in other old news, once again, I did a little bit of. I came across this, I think, when I was about to publish our last episode. It's the things that you wouldn't have known about Turner and Hooch. And
Okay.
it was one of those I was like, oh, why don't I look this stuff up before we record? So really quick, Turner and Hooch was our episode last time. And there were some facts that I thought were really interesting. So I wanted to tell you guys about them. First, did you know the script for Turner and Hooch was one of the most expensive scripts in Hollywood history?
What?
No, why?
I don't
what
know.
determines the cost of? Is it length? Do you think per
No,
word?
what the studio wants to bid for it.
Yeah, so Touchstone Pictures bought it for exactly $1 million. It was the highest price that Touchstone had ever paid for a movie screenplay.
Do you
Isn't
think
that
they already?
silly?
Do you think maybe they already had Tom Hanks on board?
No, because it could have also starred Jack Nicholson or Bill Murray.
Wow. Jack Nicholson would have been interesting.
Yeah.
Bill
Would've been
Murray,
different,
I can
very
totally see
different.
it, but Bill Murray, they could not have made him a guy who wasn't into the dog. He seems like a dog person.
Yeah.
So then the original director was fired 13 days into the production. And guess who that director was?
Ron Howard.
Fonzie.
Wow.
Henry Winkler. Apparently he didn't get along with Tom Hanks, so he got
Who doesn't
fired.
get along with Tom Hanks?
I
Harry
don't know.
Winkler,
That's
apparently.
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, Tom Hanks back then might have been a little difficult. I think those were the things I wanted. Oh, that's the other thing. There was an alternative ending where Hooch survives. I'm wondering if I grew up on the alternative ending.
Wait, it was an alternative ending
Or who survives.
in the script?
Yeah, during test screenings, audiences were presented with an alternative ending in which Hooch survived. It was decided that the original ending should be kept, as according to the movie's screenwriter Daniel Petrie Jr., the audience reaction to it was far more passionate. So I mean, I don't know, but I suspect. Also, there, so we did Turner and Hooch because there is a series coming out. There
Yeah.
was also a TV show that what came out back then, but it didn't make it past the pilot. So it wasn't a new thing. And then the other thing, I don't know that we're ever going to get to this movie, so I wanted to mention it, and because I had completely forgotten, is that, do you remember K-9 with Jim Belushi?
I do remember K9.
So that came out like 3 months before Turner and Hooch.
It's K9, Turner and Hooch, Volcano, Dante's Peak, Armageddon,
Yeah.
Impact. Like, it happens all the time with these movies. It's like, here's the one that's kind of similar to the one we've already got out.
It's so strange. So that was funny that I had forgotten about that. But yeah. So I don't know if we'll ever get to K9. I will say Turner and Hooch is the one that's more beloved for me. I wonder if the dog in K9 lives.
I'll have to watch it.
So for friends, if you want to actually read a little bit more about these facts, I am reading from 80skids.com, and the article is 10 Things You Never Knew About Turner and Hooch. Tim, did you end up watching the new one? I think
No,
you
it's
were.
not out.
Oh, it's not out yet. Okay. So we'll see how it goes. What have you watched since we've been together or done?
I've been watching Fear Street, the the horror film on Netflix. There's three movies. I watched the first two. One last week, one this week.
Are they all available right now?
No, only the first two. The next one's out next week. They're pretty fun. Great soundtrack.
Really?
Great soundtracks. Yeah, really good soundtracks. I did not expect that. So
So
they've been watching that.
So I'm not a scary movie person, but that saga, the Fear Street,
Yeah.
I was into that. I
It's not
read
too
those
scary.
books.
You might be able to.
It was a lot for me. It was a lot for me at the time as a kid, but I will definitely watch them just
Yeah.
because yeah, that is a childhood thing. That of all of these books that have come back for everybody, this is one that applies to me.
I think you'll be okay. I think you get through it. It's not too bad.
Those were books, right? You were saying?
Yeah, books.
You read those?
Like you had Lord of the Rings, I had Fear Street. Yeah.
I had Goosebumps.
Yeah, I didn't read Goosebumps, but this Fear Street saga that is happening, that was me. I enjoyed me some Fear Street, and like this specific one, I think that the saga that they're working on. What else you did?
That's it. Oh, I recently rediscovered. I was listening to Glenn Lewis's "The World Outside My Window" album from like 2002. You remember that album?
Mm-mm.
Kendon, you remember that album?
No.
It's fantastic. I would highly recommend go to your DSP, whichever it is, look up Glenn Lewis, "The World Outside My Window," and just it's perfect for like a summer day.
Is that digital streaming player?
Platform.
Huh. Never heard it referred to as that.
This is to say, if you have Spotify, Apple Music, whatever, Amazon, it's on there. Tidal, it's on there. It's good.
If you have Tidal.
if you whatever you use, like it's on there. But it's Glenn Lewis I thought had like a really promising career, and then he ended up having like one other single that was a hot after that. I remember like Vince Carter. He's from Toronto, and Vince Carter was in the video, and that was like a thing. But that's it. I haven't heard much from him since then. But it is a fantastic album.
Cool. Yeah. Well, so I'm going to be on an airplane soon, and maybe I'll download it before I get on there because it's a 5.5-hour flight. So we will see. Also, speaking of which, so this is kind of for one. I have had several relatives lately have plane tickets, and then last minute their flight just gets canceled.
Yeah, I saw it was happening.
It happened to my sister. She they scrambled and were able to get a different airline at the last minute. And then we just had my cousin was going from New Orleans to New York, and I think 2 flights got canceled on her. So I am anticipating getting on a plane, but I'm also aware that something might happen.
Have all your devices charged? Have your charger with you?
That battery that I got you, that amazing battery, yep. Bring that.
It's the wildest thing because my impression is it has to do not with the plane safety or, I immediately thought either they had overbooked the flight or underbooked the flights, right? So they're just not running them because it's not efficient. Mm-hmm. But I learned this week that apparently at least Alaska Airlines just doesn't have enough baggage handlers to do all the bags. So they have full flights, they have customers, but they can't handle the flights. And so there was some kind of like memo or directive from Alaska that their managers all have to pitch in. Like everybody has to go and do like a certain amount of shifts of baggage handling over the next such and such to like make this work. So interesting, we're making it out of the pandemic and seeing some of the issues that are left over.
I think industries thought people would ease into it, and not that people were like, get me on a flight. And that's what happened. And it was I've seen, videos from airports and they're packed.
Mm-hmm.
And so people are out here. So yeah, hopefully, they figured out before fall rush when people travel.
Yeah. And hopefully it doesn't impact people who have actual places to be. Exactly. Like I'm going, if I'm a day later, it'll suck, but it will be fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, your flight getting canceled is just anyway.
Try to get you a wedding or something. That would be
you'll miss a wedding, or maybe your baby's being born. You're trying to get there. Sounds like actually So John Candy was hit up to be in the movie that we're talking about today, Overboard, but he was busy making Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Oh,
And I'm just like, I can see some post-COVID movies about
yeah.
getting around and like I got to get to this place and I can't because of XYZ.
Right.
Okay, so that's what I will be doing. What I have been doing is puzzles. So I picked up in May, I picked up a puzzle book. So Tim, you know these, like you can get them at the grocery store, like the Penny Press,
Yep.
and it's just variety puzzles, and it's
Yep.
just puzzles in there, right?
I used to get those from my dad a lot.
Yeah, I love them. They're fun, and I have. It's kind of nice to do something that's not on a screen. Like a lot of these games you can play on my phone, but I don't really want to. I like this. Here's the thing. There is a logic puzzle in this one that I got that took me so long. So long. I was like, is it even solvable? It took me, I erased so many times. There's a hole in the paper. I moved over to like a grid of on like paper of my own on a notepad so I was using pencils and pens and like different colors to try to it took me out. I'm telling you, like last weekend I was with my mom and I spent a good 8 hours just working on this puzzle. I finally solved it after many tries. There was nothing special about it. I was just messing up. Like I was
Definitely.
just doing it wrong.
But
Like
I like to do those things every now and then because it keeps your brain like fresh.
exactly. And I was like, wow, I have definitely met my match. So yeah, so that's what I've been doing. And then the other thing is we went over to a friend's house this week for dinner and he was showing us his Lego sets. And one of the things that he does with them is he puts them together and kind of times himself to see how quickly, because these bigger sets, like how long they take. And I thought that was really interesting. I'd never thought about doing that before. And that inspired me. So I've started season 2 of Lego Masters because I didn't remember if they had done a season 2, and they did. So that is what I'm working on right now, is watching Lego Masters. The hard part is you have to actually look at the screen
Yeah.
to see what they're doing. So I can't like do my puzzles at the same time as watching Lego Masters. But that's my current, what I'm doing. And then also at that friend's house, we got to play in virtual reality with this Oculus thing that we put on our heads.
Yeah, that stuff is tough.
It was so cool, Tim. It was like there were stars all over. I know, like I was in the same room as everyone, but I was not with everybody. Like I was standing in this like dark space with stars everywhere. And the game we played was like, it's like, I think it was like Beat Saber or Saber Beats or something. You had to like slash these blocks with lightsabers. So like I'm holding lightsabers and breaking these bricks. It was so fun.
You know what it reminded me of watching her was how like people who weren't into gaming, their first reaction to the Wii. You know,
Yeah.
like I'm really engaging with this in a way that's not just pushing buttons. That's the kind of smile and joy that she had.
Yeah, I really liked it. I really, really liked it. Oculus is what it is, right? Was I right
Oculus
about
Rift.
that?
Well, it is Oculus. It might not be the Rift anymore. There's a newer version.
But yeah, so finally did that. Hadn't had that on my list of things to do, but did it. Oh my gosh, so much fun. Friends, you should try it. You look really silly. I was watching Kendon and our friend do it, and they looked really silly, and I knew I looked
Yeah.
silly. But it's one of those like, I don't care how I look. This is fun. So anyway, that's what I've been up to. Kendon, what have you been doing?
What have I been doing? I just have a couple I want to mention. I think I mentioned everybody knows I'm kind of a sucker for teen dramas. I think I mentioned on the news sometime back, or it wasn't the fourth one yet, that they have started a reboot of Gossip Girl, which is a show I watched several seasons of in the early 2010s, whenever it was out. It's kind of updated for the digital world. I don't know how I feel about this show.
One thing is it's so there's only one episode out right now, right, Kendon?
Yeah, and it's on HBO
and it's
Max.
starting as like the first day back to school, but it's kind of fun because it's post-pandemic first day back to school. So it's like there's a lot of references to the whole last year they've been on Zoom for school, and so they're excited to go back and be in person. And so it's kind of cool that it's relevant in terms of the times.
So the twist on the theme this time is that the students treat most of the teachers like shit, and so the teachers, to get back, have resurrected the idea of Gossip Girl, which
Oh,
decade old spoiler, was Lonely Boy, I forget his name,
Humphrey.
Humphrey, was the original one. They also got Kristen Bell back as the voice of Gossip Girl, like the narrator.
hey, Kristen Bell, love her.
Yeah, she's great. So I'm watching this and I'm like, these are full on adults doing things that are really unethical when it comes to, like, yes, these are probably played by 24-year-olds, but they're supposed to be minors. They're supposed to be children.
Supposed to be
So yeah, like spying on them and kind of messing with their social lives and stuff. So I don't know if I can get on board with this show or not.
I had the same reaction. I'm like, this is your job. This is their lives. Like, these are teenagers. Ken made the point, like, this is the kind of stuff that makes kids commit suicide. Like, you're an adult and you just go work somewhere else. Like, if you don't like the kids at this school,
They're
don't
so mean,
don't
got a
stay
bully.
here.
Like, maybe not.
I mean, they
Yeah.
make the kids seem really terrible, which kind of ties into the movie that we're watching. But they're still they're children. Like, this is a really weird. Also, it's HBO, so they can go a little further with like the sexual content and stuff like that. So, anyways, that's one thing. And then
my one caveat is I try not to judge a show until I've seen 2 full episodes, right? Like, I always feel like the first episode is doing a lot of groundwork. I never judge a show based on 1 episode. So I am trying to withhold judgment and reserve judgment until after I've seen the 2nd episode.
yeah, I think I'll give an update at the end of the month.
Yeah.
The other thing I watched is The Tomorrow War.
Yes,
which is apparently currently the #1 streaming movie.
It should be. It's so great.
It's
so great.
It is surprisingly really good. So this is basically a movie in which we're losing a war against some sort of alien creatures in the future. So there's
smokes.
Yeah, like badly. So there somehow some time travel nonsense is created so they can recruit people from the past to fight this war. What I want to mention though is, like, when I watch a lot of stuff, and this can bother Shalia sometimes, is I ask these questions. I'm like, this doesn't make sense. They addressed a whole bunch of that. Like, a lot of times I was like, okay, but
you're talking specifically, I mean, one about how glass works, but mostly about science generally, right? How science works.
Well, no, that's a different, the second point I was going to make.
Oh, okay.
But just several times I made a question or questioned the what they were doing, and they addressed it like a few minutes later. So that felt kind of good. And then this overall, they're trying to make, like, I appreciate they're making scientists the hero, right? And it's not our fault that we're being attacked. And also, like, the science actually sounded legit. Like, and it kind of what the scientific problem they're trying to use to defeat the
white spikes
invaders, the white spikes, which are, you were right, do look great.
Look great.
The way they discuss it is not random gobbledygook. It is a little streamlined so that people who are watching it aren't getting into the weeds, but it actually makes sense from a biochemical point of view. And I appreciated that. It's like all you need is like one person in the writer's room who got a bachelor's in biology.
Yeah.
You could write things so much better.
Or even someone says, hey, how does this work? And you consult someone and they're like, oh yeah.
Khan Academy exists.
The analogy to this, I think, is something we've talked about before, of video games in movies and TV shows, and why it seems so impossible to have the correct controllers for the console or the game that's being played. And how, I think, Kendon, you were saying that, like, that is getting a little bit better, but we were watching, I think, Lupin recently, and it's like, oh, you're so close. You're playing the right game with the right controller, but you're playing it 2-person and it's a 1-person game. It's like, why are we, these are not hard things to do right.
Oh, we've been watching Lupin.
Yeah, we've been watching Lupin too, but we're not through it yet. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, we'll talk about
that.
Did
you ever watch the Lupin anime, Lupin the Third?
No, and I'm thinking about going back to check it out. It's connected only in that Lupin the Third is supposed to be the grandson of this famous Lupin from the books. And the Lupin show is a guy who liked those books and is inspired to try to replicate. So they're not directly connected in a story way. But yeah.
But yeah,
And-
we'll talk about that one.
And that famous Lupe Fiasco line. Lupe still like Lupin the Third. Just the Sky.
So yeah, Tomorrow War was really good. Chris Pratt, it was fun. He's doing a good job. He's leading it. It works.
Yeah.
I liked it.
I don't buy him as a biology teacher. He's like ex-special forces biology teacher. Because he needs to do these two things for the plot of the movie. Yeah.
I liked it because his kid is into it too. So it's pretty clear like this is what he
If one of his kids is just into volcanoes, one of the kids in his class.
That was so funny too, because I was that kid. I remember sitting in class before and then raising my hand and the teacher literally not calling on me and being like, all right, I'm not going to participate in class ever again then.
You showed them.
I'm done. But what was funny was like, I was like, so I see this and I'm triggered, like, oh no, this kid not getting called on. And then he's like, anybody else? Because we all know that this kid is going to want to what? Talk about volcanoes. Not that he knows the answer. Not that he.
Talk about volcano. I had reviewed this
he
film.
wants to talk about volcanoes.
I reviewed it with Chris Lambert on his Monday Festival podcast. And the one thing that we talked about was like, at the end of the film, I'm not spoiling anything. And at the end of the film on the ship, there's a decision that's made, and it's made very quickly. And I was like,
yeah,
that's what would have to happen. She goes downstairs. She's like, oh shit.
You mean making a quick decision?
Yeah. It's not a whole bunch of like muttering and no, not a whole bunch of like dialogue. It's like, yo, we got to do this. We have to do this thing. And they do it. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. And I appreciated that in the film. You know, when the stakes are that high, sometimes a film will do for plot reasons. Like there's a whole bunch of back and forth and like, no. What's her name? Jasmine, whatever, the actress who played that soldier. I forgot her name. When she goes down in the ship. Yeah, it was that scene. And I was like, yeah, that's what would actually happen in real life. If these were military people.
You know, I really appreciate that, Tim. Like, so I was too busy being like, this plan isn't. Chris Pratt's problem with the plan didn't sync with me. I was just like, I don't know. Your issue is wrong. But you're right. Like, how often am I watching movies and I'm like, if somebody says go, like, we don't need to take this to committee. Let's just make a decision and go with it. And you're right. Like that, yeah, I appreciate that too. Good point. Yeah. It's a good movie, friends. If you haven't watched it yet, it's a nice watch.
And I really like that it wears all of its influences on its sleeve.
Yeah, it does.
Aliens, Starship Troopers,
Edge of Tomorrow,
Looper, Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah,
it's like we're just throwing all of these in the blender.
Yeah, Independence Day, all of it. It's got all of these influences, and they're like, yeah, we're fine with that.
Yeah, this is definitely not the best movie ever made. There's definitely some plot things where you're like, this doesn't, but it's fun. It's a fun watch. And it was last episode, right, that we were talking about, like, I feel like I'm watching an algorithm. And this is definitely in that in that camp of like, they know what we like and they put it all together for us here. So anything else you've been doing, Kendon?
Those are the two I wanted to share.
All right. Are we ready to go back to the 80s?
We are ready to go back to the 80s.
Let's do it. Let's get in the mindset with some trivia. What 1989 baseball movie features players named Vaughn, Willie Mays Hayes,
Major League,
and the Wild Thing?
I'm surprised we haven't done that yet.
Yeah, we need to. Actually, baseball season, we should probably get on it. On which show did Angela Lansbury star as Jessica Fletcher, a British mystery author who becomes a real-life mystery solver?
Murder, She Wrote.
All I could think of is the typewriter show.
It's one of my great grandmother's favorite shows. We watch Murder, She Wrote and Perry Mason all the time.
We should maybe do Murder, She Wrote. So it says it ran from 1984 to 1996.
I'm down for some Murder, She Wrote.
We should probably do it.
We visited one of my older aunties when we were in Georgia recently, and she was watching Perry Mason.
Yeah, she was, but it was old, like in black and white old.
Yeah. Old Perry Mason.
Okay. Who had a hit with Rock the Casbah in 1982?
The Casbah, Rock.
I can never remember.
It's The Cars, The Clash, or The Cure.
The
It's not
Cars.
it's not the Cure. So I'm gonna say
Right,
the
Cars.
Clash.
It is The Clash.
Right.
Yes.
All right. Oh, who was the first woman in space in 1983?
Kendon, this is your field.
It's not not for Sally Ride.
That's correct. She was
Oh.
the first astronaut
Well.
Well.
Your head.
woman in space.
Well, it came to my head so quickly that I was sure it was incorrect. You know what I mean?
What space shuttle was she on?
1980.
Oh God, what would that have been?
Well, it's not the Challenger. I
It's the
hope.
Challenger.
When did the Challenger explode?
I was in fourth grade, so fourth grade, fifth grade, fourth grade. So that'd have been 83, 84.
Okay. The Challenger exploded in 86.
Okay. So I don't know if you guys are watching my face, but I've been like, did she get to space and survive?
I was gonna touch
Well,
that.
she must have the way this question was, but there was a woman teacher
Yeah.
who was on the Challenger.
Yeah.
That was a big deal.
That's why
All
we were
right.
watching it as a school, and that's why I didn't realize what happened, and all the other teachers like burst into tears and like frantically got us all back to our classrooms.
Yeah.
Because we're all in this auditorium watching, because the teacher was going to space. We talked about it for weeks. So we were all surrounded around this TV, with them big back TVs, watching it when it happened. And
They used to wheel them out on those carts.
Yep. My story, so many kids in that age range had the same story.
Mm-hmm.
Live.
Seeing the teachers react. Oh, interesting topic to come up since we have billionaires going to space now.
No, not really.
In the next, they're not. Where are they going?
High, say low Earth orbit or high. I don't remember the term they used. Did you hear about the Tim? Did you hear about the petition going around to keep Jeff Bezos in space? Just like don't come back.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I need another Expanse season. So
come on back home, Bezos.
All right. Last question. What letter came before Cavaricci in the brand name of the distinctive pants?
E?
What is, tell us more about this, Tim. What are these distinctive pants?
I don't know what they are.
Oh, you're just guessing a letter?
No, I think I've heard it before.
Kendon, do you know, have you heard
I
of this?
don't recognize these pants.
The answer is Z, as in zebra.
I knew it had like a sound to it.
What type of pants are these?
Cavaricci.
Z Cavaricci. Let's look them up.
I bet Goldie Hawn had a pair.
Oh, wow.
These are distinctive?
Apparently so. These are ugly. They look like Hammer pants. This is what Hammer was dancing around in?
So they've got like extra buttons, and it looks like a button like way down at the crotch too.
They must have put these pants in the Wonder Woman '84 movie.
I'm sure.
You passed gas one time, you turned into a hot air balloon.
Oh God.
One time.
Why do you make me think of that?
That's like, well, so it's not gas, but so you guys don't wear. Actually, it happens to men's bathing suits too, right? When you're in a hot tub and the bubbles are going, and like sometimes your bathing suit will just like puff up. It's so funny.
But why are you fucking hot tub?
All right, so we're in. Yeah, they're speaking of hot tubs. So we're in the mood for the 80s. You guys ready to go overboard?
We're ready to go overboard.
Okay.
All right.
Seems a mystery woman was picked up by the Elk Cove garbage cow shortly after midnight.
This missing link person is not my husband.
Overboard. 1987. Goldie Hawn, Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell, directed by Gary Marshall, who passed a few years ago. Who also did A League of Their Own, wrote A League of Their Own, produced a bunch, wrote a bunch, directed a bunch. It's written by Leslie Dixon. Are you aware of anything Leslie Dixon has wrote before?
No.
Freaky Friday. And the screenplay for the remake of Overboard, which I'm sure you'll get to later. The film stars Goldie Hawn as Joanna, Kurt Russell plays Dean, Edward Herman is Grant, his buddy, Grant Staten, the rich guy, Catherine Hellman, Mike Haggerty, Roddy McDowall, and Jared Rushton, and a bunch of kids.
Oh, and I
Bunch of
would add
kids.
in, I recognized the composer for once, Alan Silvestri, who did movies including the Back to the Future series, Forrest Gump, Lilo and Stitch, and a bunch of Marvel movies. Apparently,
Wow.
yeah.
I will say, part of the reason why this movie has always been a positive reaction for me is the music. So that makes sense.
Sure.
And then one of the kids, I think only one of the kids you really recognize because we've seen him in Big, and we saw him in what was the one that you called him back for?
I could say he was also in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the neighbor in that.
Yes.
So we've seen that little kiddo a few
Alright.
times. What's funny is that Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn's kids were on set, but they're not in the movie at all.
Wow.
Oh, but you know who is?
Yeah, Rod
So-
Russell on there, huh?
So Marshall's son
Mhm.
is the one who plays the kid who's like on the Coast Guard boat, who's like, "It's a great day at sea, sir," or like,
Oh.
"Man overboard is kissing woman overboard," like that.